It always starts with a whisper. A dark thought. A fascination you can't explain. And then, if no one stops it, it grows. For Gemma Lily, it wasn't just a thought. It was a craving. She told me she wanted to kill someone, a friend would later confess. And that the feeling was getting stronger. From the outside, she was just another 20-something working a regular job in Australia. Quiet. Odd, maybe. But nothing that screamed danger. At least, not at first. But inside Gemma was a storm years in the making, shaped by trauma, twisted by obsession, and eventually, unleashed. She didn't just want to kill. She wanted to be remembered for it. And she was willing to destroy an innocent life to make it happen. Gemma Lily's story begins far from the dusty streets of Perth. She was born in England, Stanford, Lincolnshire, a picture-perfect village 2 hours north of London. Cobblestone paths. Green fields. The kind of place where nothing truly terrible ever happens. Until it does. Gemma's early life was, for a time, unremarkable. But beneath the surface, things were fracturing. Her mother had a breakdown, emotionally unraveling, and joined a spiritual cult. One that demanded full devotion and absolute silence from anyone who questioned it. If you said anything against it, Gemma's father recalled, they came after you. And by they, he meant other cult members. Gemma and her siblings were caught in the crossfire, beaten, locked in rooms without food, forced to soil themselves because the doors wouldn't open. Her father tried to stop it. For 2 years, he fought. Then he ran, with the children in tow. The physical bruises may have faded, but something darker took root inside Gemma. She was 15 when she began writing. Not diaries. Not poems. But a novel, a graphic, disturbing fantasy titled Playzone. The story followed a fictional serial killer named SOS, who tortured his victims in horrific ways. It wasn't just creative expression. It was a blueprint. A mirror of her fantasies. A persona she would slowly absorb into her own identity. She didn't just write about SOS. She became him. She tattooed the name onto her body. Signed her name SOS when she was angry. Told classmates things like, SOS is coming out. Teachers were disturbed. Her father, less so. He saw it as just teenage angst. Dark creativity, maybe, but nothing more. It wasn't for me, he said. But I figured it was her way of expressing herself. But Gemma wasn't just expressing. She was rehearsing. At 18, she left England behind. A one-way ticket to Perth, Australia. A fresh start, or maybe just a new stage. She picked up a job at a supermarket, met new friends, and slowly, piece by piece, crafted a persona that felt more fiction than fact. Jet black clothes. Horror movie tattoos. A fascination with serial killers. She loved Freddy Krueger. Idolized Dexter Morgan. Even rented only horror movies, week after week, from the same local video shop. Angela McKibben, who worked there, remembered her vividly. She was different. Wore black all the time. Rode a motorbike. Watched nothing but slasher films. That's all she ever talked about, killers. And then there were the knives. She carried a collection. Sleek, sharp, wrapped in a black pouch. She once showed a coworker how razor-sharp one of the blades was, by shaving the hair off her arm with it. She was proud of them, the coworker recalled. It wasn't weird to her. It was like a badge. Still, no one truly believed she'd act on it. Not yet. Gemma was strange, yes. Intense. But to most, she was just another horror fan with a vivid imagination. Until she started talking about real murder. Her visa was running out. And so, Gemma found a loophole. A marriage, on paper only, with a friend's brother, Gordon Galbraith. The ceremony? A horror-themed charade. Gemma dressed as Dexter. Her father came dressed as Freddy Krueger. But the marriage wouldn't last long. Gordon died suddenly in a car crash. Tragic, yes, but it opened a door. A final shift in Gemma's behavior. Friends noticed her sinking deeper into her dark fantasy world. She was now 24. And she had a deadline. She told me she wanted to kill someone before she turned 25, a former friend later said. She said it out loud. Like it was just a goal she wanted to hit. And when the friend warned her it wasn't that easy, that getting rid of a body was harder than she thought, Gemma didn't flinch. She just looked at me and said, "Oh no, it's not hard at all." This wasn't a game anymore. Behind the walls of her Perth home, Gemma had begun building her fantasy into reality. She created a space she called the Kill Room, a chilling nod to her favorite TV killer, Dexter. Black plastic. Restraints. Tools. It was all there. Ready. She wasn't just daydreaming anymore. She was preparing. And yet, even in the darkest corners of her plan, Gemma didn't want to do it alone. Every story needs a sidekick. Every killer needs a partner. Enter Trudy Linon. A mother of 3. Lonely. Vulnerable. Easily manipulated. Gemma saw in Trudy what she needed most, obedience. Trudy wasn't the mastermind, one investigator later said. She was a pawn. A way for Gemma to finally make her fantasy real. Together, they formed a plan. They needed a victim. Someone easy to lure. Someone who wouldn't be missed right away. They found him. His name was Aaron Pajic. Just 18. On the autism spectrum. Innocent, trusting, and tragically unsuspecting. He thought he was meeting a friend. He had no idea he was walking into a trap. Aaron Pajic was the kind of person who trusted too easily. He smiled often. Loved video games. And though he struggled to connect with others, when he found a friend, he clung to them with a quiet, almost childlike loyalty. That loyalty would be his undoing. It was a cold Monday morning, June 13, 2016. Aaron told his housemates he was meeting someone in the city. He left his Mandurah home wearing a graphic t-shirt, his backpack slung over one shoulder. He never came back. When the hours stretched into the evening, then the next day, panic took hold. His mother, Sharon Pajic, reported him missing immediately. She knew her son. This wasn't like him. He didn't wander off. He didn't ghost people. Something was wrong. Very wrong. What no one knew was that just outside Perth, in a quiet suburban neighborhood, behind a small home with peeling paint and a rusted gate, Aaron had already been buried. Hidden under a freshly laid slab of concrete in the backyard. Gemma Lily and Trudy Linon had already killed him. And they were celebrating. Aaron had met Trudy first, online. They shared an interest in fantasy books and video games, and Trudy played the role of the kind, nerdy friend. She gained his trust over weeks. Spoke softly. Promised to introduce him to a new friend she thought he'd really like. Aaron said yes. Trudy lured him to Gemma's house in Aurelia, a quiet suburb where neighbors mostly kept to themselves. What happened next is almost too horrific to believe. Investigators would later piece together the timeline. Aaron entered the home expecting to hang out. Maybe play some games. Maybe talk anime. Instead, Gemma attacked him from behind, wrapping a piece of wire tightly around his neck. As he struggled, Trudy helped hold him down. Then came the knife. Gemma stabbed him. Again and again. The details are merciless, fatal wounds to the neck and chest, deep and deliberate. Blood soaked the room. And through it all, Gemma smiled. She wasn't panicking. She wasn't uncertain. She was in it. Living the fantasy she'd written about for years. It was like she thought she was in a movie, one detective later said. Like this was her big scene. After it was done, they wrapped Aaron's body in plastic and buried him in the backyard beneath a cement slab Gemma had prepared in advance, as if she always knew it would come to this. That's how much of this was planned. Back inside, they cleaned the room. Gemma posted cryptic messages online. "I am going to be so famous," one post read. "Just you wait." To her, Aaron wasn't a person. He was a plot point. A necessary step on her path to infamy. She had no remorse. Only pride. But what she didn't plan for was how quickly the truth would unravel. Aaron's disappearance triggered an immediate police investigation. Detectives began tracing his last known movements, texts, calls, and online chats. That's when they found Trudy Lenon, a name that kept popping up. Detectives brought her in for questioning. At first, she played dumb, friendly, cooperative. But her story didn't hold up. And her phone told a much darker tale. Text messages between her and Gemma hinted at something far more sinister. Mentions of the plan, of the game, of SOS. And eventually, under pressure, Trudy broke. She confessed. And she led detectives straight to the backyard. The crime scene that followed horrified even seasoned investigators. Under the concrete slab, in a shallow grave, lay the body of Aaron Pajic. Stab wounds clear. The plastic wrap still clinging to his limbs. Inside the house, police found blood traces, hidden tools, and a chilling setup in one of the rooms, plastic sheeting on the walls, knives neatly arranged, a scene straight out of a slasher film. It was the kill room. Gemma Lily had turned her home into a shrine for murder. A tribute to her own delusions. And now, there was no hiding it. She was arrested on the spot. As news of the crime broke, the public reacted with disbelief. A teenage boy with autism, lured and slaughtered by a woman who wanted to be a celebrity killer? It felt like fiction. But it wasn't. Gemma showed no remorse. In police interviews, she spoke with clinical detachment. She denied being the killer, of course, blamed it all on Trudy. But her stories were riddled with holes. And the evidence? Overwhelming. Her fingerprints. Her texts. Her internet search history, full of how-to guides on murder and body disposal. Not to mention, her book. Playzone was more than a disturbing novel. It was a script. In it, SOS, her fictional killer, hunted victims, created kill rooms, and murdered for fame. Now the lines between fantasy and reality had vanished. Gemma Lily had become SOS. And the world was watching. The courtroom was packed. Every seat filled. Reporters pressed into the back row. Members of the public, some strangers, others family, sat in stunned silence. In the defendant's dock stood two women. Gemma Lily and Trudy Lenon. The pair looked worlds apart. Trudy, nervous, eyes flickering toward the floor. And Gemma, almost smug. Dressed neatly. Her long dark hair tied back. At moments, she smirked. To her, this wasn't justice. It was the attention she'd always craved. She was finally famous. The prosecution wasted no time painting the picture. They laid out the trap Gemma and Trudy had constructed, how Trudy had used Aaron's trust to lure him to the house, and how Gemma, obsessed with serial killers, had orchestrated every detail. There was the planning, weeks of texts between the women, some cryptic, some shockingly blunt. "I can't wait to make my first kill," one message read. "The game starts soon." They presented the knives. The plastic-covered room. The fake identities. The buried body. And they revealed the most chilling evidence of all. Gemma's novel, Playzone, wasn't just fiction. It was a how-to manual. The killer in the book, SOS, didn't just murder. He created kill rooms. Used wire to strangle. Buried his victims under concrete. Just like Aaron. This wasn't coincidence. It was premeditated, cold-blooded murder. Gemma's defense team claimed she was innocent. That Trudy was the mastermind. That she was being framed. But it was too late. The jury saw through her mask. and it cracked, just slightly, when her own father took the stand. Richard Lily. The man who once laughed off her violent obsessions as teenage imagination now faced the monstrous reality of what his daughter had become. "If I had known," he said, voice cracking. "If I had truly known, I would have done anything to stop it." Then came Sharon Pajich, Aaron's mother. There are no words that can contain the pain of a parent burying their child. But Sharon tried. She stood in that courtroom with trembling hands and a shattered heart, staring directly at the woman who took her son's life. "Aaron was gentle," she said. "He had autism, yes, but he was full of love. Full of trust. You used that against him." The room was still. No coughs. No whispers. Only the sound of quiet weeping. After weeks of testimony, the verdict was read. Guilty. Of murder. Of premeditation. Of cruelty beyond reason. The judge delivered one of the harshest sentences the court could allow. Gemma Lily and Trudy Lenon were both sentenced to life imprisonment, with a minimum non-parole period of 28 years. Gemma didn't cry. She just blinked. As if the world she had built, where murder made her a legend, had finally collapsed. And all that was left was the cold silence of reality. But even in prison, she clings to her fantasy. Behind bars, Gemma still signs her letters SOS. Still believes the world should remember her name. Still dreams of infamy. What makes this case so profoundly disturbing isn't just the horror of the act, it's the motive behind it. Gemma didn't kill out of passion, or rage, or revenge. She killed for recognition. For a place in the pantheon of monsters she idolized. Freddy Krueger. Dexter. Gacy. But unlike them, she wasn't fiction. She was real. And her victim? An innocent 18-year-old boy who trusted the wrong person. Aaron Pajich's name should never be forgotten. Not just because of how he died, but because of how he lived. Quiet. Trusting. Brave in a world that didn't always understand him. If you found this case as haunting as we did, subscribe for more stories that peel back the layers of darkness. This has been True Crimes Now, and until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and never stop asking the hard questions.